is up, misfits one and all, to this episode of Call Me Skeptical. Do prophets exist? Jesus? Moses? Muhammad? Oh no, that's just my pizza delivery. Anyway, where tonight we are opening up the internet phone lines to see if anyone can help us understand why anyone thinks prophets would exist. So won't you join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for a profitable good time? I want to thank you all for joining us out there on the intertubes. I don't know how they squeeze the internet through there, but
we're not allowed to talk about that anymore.
That's right, but you can activate your 5G chip. If you're out there, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, or possibly let a kitty out because they want to roam. We understand.
Or George Soros will come to your house and give you a stern talking to.
That's right. Okay, no. Shut it down. Shut it down. Speaking of which, you can also join our channel membership. Woohoo! Thank you so very much, Aaron Coulson, becoming a YouTube member.
A new member.
Woo-hoo. And that's right. We also have lovely evolving badges, which means we all start out as test tubes, but it doesn't matter
rock soup
what level you are exactly. A bunch of just rock soup.
Hey.
But eventually you grow and grow until I'm looking for my rock. Looking for Grandpa. Grandpa rolls away. Every once in a while. But eventually you go from that to a little flask to a magnifying glass to a microscope to a computer to a spaceship. And so we just want to thank you so very much, Aaron.
So much.
All the support and the love.
So much.
Mwah. All of our members, all of our subscribers, and just all of our viewers out there. And Gizmo, who keeps things running. And
he works hard at it, I'll tell you what. He's always on the job.
Exactly, working tirelessly. I also want to send love out there because Call Me Skeptical is actually looking for viewpoints that don't agree with our own. In fact, you could say that the two schmucks that you see before you are skeptics. It is true. However, come one, come all. In fact, if you think the world is 6,000 years old, that evolution is a hoax, or that the world is flat, well then, oh, gee willikers.
You've come to the right place.
Exactly.
Come on
speak
down.
to us right away. However, we do love speaking with atheist skeptics and science-minded people as well. Tonight's house.
You talk to the sane as well as the insane.
Oh my, it's getting spicy already.
A little bit, just a little bit.
But sponsored by our Patreons, who can be found.
That's right, Ian. Profits are definitely allowed on Ferenginar.
That's right.
They're mandatory.
Very profitable, including religion, because it's selling the invisible product. At least we hope that we give you good content out there. We're sending love, and we'll see. We'll put our views to the test. Their views to the test.
They do have a point, though. The invisible product, it's one of the only things that's not subject to supply chain shortages in the economy. They are always well
Exactly.
stocked on the invisible product. Always.
Well, and you can just say that if it doesn't come true, that God works in mysterious ways. There's always an out.
Always.
But yes, this Patreon is sponsored this content is sponsored by our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman, including awesome Patreon channel members, supporters like us from the Indian Round Table, the
Thank you,
network
us.
group, Tang Gang, sending so much love out there. You should be checking out youtube.com
I'm
slash
sure they are.
the Atheist Network Group, and you should be getting tickets for the better event because, well, we hashtag do it better. Funny about that. We don't have to go to, what was that topic that we had in our Bible study? Oh, that's right. Holy War. But no.
I feel like it was just a few chapters before that we had another holy war.
Well, I will say God's
seems to be a recurring
people likes to make sure that the other people don't get to choose life.
Oh, no.
It's the little things. What else says that they love to Ian Davenport?
Ian's out there in chat. Hey, Ian.
Woo, Ian. Because creationist claims make no sense. The more I try and push out just the meme that complexity is the hallmark of design, or I got it backwards. Simplicity is the hallmark of design, not complexity. Because irreducible complexity is irreducibly bullshit, I think is the technical term.
You probably did, Amy, because you grew up in a Jewish household, but you never had like a big ball of Christmas lights, like just one big freaking ball.
I have been in
now that thing is
big balls of Christmas lights, but never in the house.
That thing is so freaking complicated, yet it took no planning whatsoever. It made itself just by people dumping lights into a box. And then it made itself in this complicated weave. And it's a pain in the ass. No, it's not designed.
Because complexity is just time. Sometimes excessive. You need complexity. Sometimes you need a complex system. But that just means basically I'm going to be spending a lot of time. But you generally want a system that is simple.
At least it's not overly or unnecessarily complex when it doesn't need to be.
Exactly.
You wouldn't want like a nerve going all the way down the neck and all the way back up the neck to get an inch away from where it started. No one would design something like that.
No, except for apparently the almighty deity that, the omnis aren't even ancient. Like this omnipresent, nani, they created all this much later. But
that they did, yeah. They did.
Sending love also, but we hear these creationist claims, and all of this makes a grumpy old cuss and us go bleep, bleep, bleep. This is what happens. The TOS gods just transform it right there.
Ian just sent us 10 Aussie dollar super stickers, so thank you for those Aussie bucks.
Oh my,
Ian.
and I want to hold on.
She's got to check and see which one it is.
I do, because
it doesn't show.
There we go. It says, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Ian.
Thank you so very much, Ian. Sending so much love. Mwah, 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 mwah. And all of you out there in chat, we are going to be having fun tonight. We are talking prophets, and we're hoping that, a theist will convince us that someone could talk to God, or more specifically, God talks back, because it's actually very easy to talk to God.
And could receive useful information from God that we could then use to do something useful on Earth.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my. Just a whole bunch of Godwin's Law. I'm just going to go away from
Oh,
that.
the good doctor again. Yeah, I would touch that.
I know. With a 15-foot pole. Hold on. I have a. Oh, it's always nice to. I need to get a whale. I think that's what's missing from my collection.
Actual whale.
Yeah, get a good old whale. Uh, but also sending love. I see Skywatcher out
Hey,
there.
Skywatcher.
Mwah.
Got Farron
Still
out there.
sending love to Ian and sending love to Aaron. That's right, we are a bunch of misfits, one and all. Sending so much love, Farron. Da da da
Thanks,
da.
Farron.
And yeah, sending love to Grumpy, sending love to Diana Smith, reminding us that the Bible is
Kill
well,
Doggy out there
all
on
of the.
Twitch.
What is up, Kill Doggy? That's right. In fact, I am going to pin the Twitchosphere. You can hear me clickety clack. I'm sorry.
Oh, they do.
But sending love, everyone out there. I got a new fantastic keyboard. I needed a keyboard so badly. I didn't have the R key.
No, it was missing keys.
Very,
Yeah, that.
very. At that point, I think you can get a new one. Da 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 da. And all right, I'm sending that into the interwebs. Come give Kill Doggy some friends.
Hey, Woody Woodpecker.
What is up, Woody Woodpecker? What is up, everyone? What is up, John Vance? Why do I feel wasted time explaining theological,
Don't touch
historical
that, Amy. Come on.
analysis to atheists? That is a very technical. Why should I throw pearls before swine?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And that is, see, James is like, don't even tempt, but I'll tempt you back because we're winning. Because we're winning. Because, like James is saying, because the pews are emptying, because your competition, Islam, is, or I'm trying to remember.
He's in Islam. He's
Is
Islam.
he Islam? Well, he's not a Christian. I was going to say, Islam is winning in third world countries, but anywhere where society,
where they have to use force to force people.
And I don't even like
to do
the term first and third world. What it basically is the secular countries tend to get technology and development, and the religious ones tend to not. It's a thesis that can't be true.
Well, every time, what do they do? What do they call those calls to prayer that the Islamic, whatever they call them?
I'm trying to remember. I know.
Every time they do it, there will be fewer and fewer people responding to it until they just stop doing it.
And Allah is very triggered by non-believers. He wants to be accepted by like the older religions. Like, come on, Christians and Jews. I'll let you be Dimmy and all this other stuff over here. You can like pay taxes.
I'm totally Yahweh.
Fine. But I'm like
totally
Yahweh. Yeah, I'm totally team Abraham and all that shit. We love Moses and Adam and Eve and them fucking up things and stuff. We're a big
Sodom
fan.
and Gomorrah. Yeah, we all love good gay barbecue.
James Wolfe, what is up? Says first LGBTQ plus IQ plus was recently opened in Houston. Woohoo! That is awesome. Hells yeah. I honestly, it has been trending in the right direction. Like, I have been very proud of the planet. We've been going, it goes up and down. because that's generally how things go. You get a little bit of progress, you get a little bit of reaction, you get a little bit of progress, and but I think it's going in the right direction. Woohoo!
That it is. That it is.
I do know that they pray 5 times a day towards Mecca, which I always just find funny. I mean, no more or less funny than any of the Christian or Jewish beliefs. I'm just saying that it's just the little things that make it human. Like if you have to wear clothes for a god, and
A
Christians,
uniform.
Jews, Muslims, depending on the gender, depending on the religion, they all got
A
to wear
god uniform.
uniforms. Yeah.
Yeah. What did Muhammad say? I think he said, if you showered 5 times a day, would there be any dirt left? When he was trying to explain why they pray 5 times a day. I don't know. Basically, like my theory is the same with Judaism, like in the Old Testament with all these rituals and everything, is they're keeping you so busy doing shit for this God that you never actually have time to sit down and think to yourself, is he actually real? Does he really exist? You don't have time to think about that because you've got another sacrifice to make. You've got prayer. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. You can't eat this time of day. You can't eat that.
And I just realized it is our call-in show, and it worked really well last time. I'm going to send into chat
If someone wants to come in right away.
if someone wants to come in right away and disagree with us. So we'll have a formal way, and we'll just keep on talking about the subject while we do our housekeeping. But I just want to just send it out there. If someone...
That's right, Woody.
What is up, Pavel? That's right. We are calling me skeptical. We are asking, do prophets exist? It's one of my talking points. You know, I think Oz and James.
Here. Oh boy.
Right away. I mean, it's what we come for, right?
This is what we get up and out of bed and eat our Wheaties for.
Meat and bones, we eat our Wheaties for, exactly.
Sacrifice babies.
So we have John Vance backstage already. I think we're going to move into it. I mean, James, we could believe in prophethood.
It's possible.
Right now. So
it's possible. Are you ready to do your Shahada?
I'm ready.
That would just blow the minds of so many people on those Dawa channels. They would just they would be over the moon.
They would be. Good moon. She's right there.
Yeah.
That moon. Let's see if we can cut it in half. We are called Be Skeptical. Let's have some fun.
Let's talk to some ants.
Exactly.
Alhamdulillah. Can you hear me?
How are you? Yes,
we hear you, John.
Okay, cool.
Hope you're doing well tonight. We are calling Me Skeptical, and we are asking, do prophets exist?
Well, I'll just start with the historical analysis of Muhammad, the last prophet, in terms of the Abrahamic religions. So the claim that Islam is that it's the most preserved textbook out there, or Bible, or the Quran is the most preserved book out there, theological book out there, as opposed to the different versions of the Bible, which you had, I believe, you had the Hebrew Bible, you had which was first written, and then you had the Old Testament and then the New Testament, which were written after, and they were written after 100 years after Jesus' death. But a
lot of it was, some of it, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot more closer sources to Muhammad, and that it was a miracle because Muhammad couldn't read and write, and so he basically had wise men, like what we think of the wise men, inscribe it to him through camel bones and leaves, and he just basically he went out.
Can
Basically, the
I?
gist of it is like the same story of like Jesus goes out into the forest, and then he comes back and he prophesies. Same thing with Muhammad. He goes into a cave,
I
disappears
don't
for a
think there's
period
any
of time,
question
and
Muhammad
then
existed. He
yeah,
was a real
Well,
person, whereas I would say there's not so much evidence for Jesus.
and I want to also push back on this notion that I want to know what the miracle is, because it's either it was written by God that would delivered it via angel, or it was written by scribes. And if it was written by scribes, then there's no miracle.
right. So basically, like he went out into the cave and basically he talked to angels, and he basically got this messages to him. Some people call it channeling. So uh, he basically got channeled these messages and these prophecies, and it in a way it was a miracle because he was espousing such wisdom. And at the time where Mecca is, I forget what it's called, but there used to be like where Mecca used to be, there used to be a lot of idol worship. So there'd be like pilgrims and pagans, uh, and so they would worship a lot of idols. And basically, when Muhammad first started with Islam, he was ostracized. He was crucified, but also he was a little bit different. Um, and some Christians would say he had the spirit of Ishmael in him because he was kind of rebellious in a way. He was like
Yeah.
a bull
Said,
in a
don't
china
worship those
shop
idols
kind of
anymore.
way.
Worship
But I
my
mean,
sky
I'm
daddy.
not saying Jesus wasn't like Jesus was known for flipping the tables of the money changers, and
Supposedly, yeah.
so Muhammad was more, I guess, of a warlord, whereas Jesus was, I guess, a little less violent, but he was still, I guess, violent in a way because you're still flipping over a table. I guess it was just less bloodshed with Jesus than with Muhammad, historically speaking. But Jesus wasn't passive or any way. It was just it's just a lesson of like he was literally just crucified for his beliefs, and then Muslims say that the Trinity is basically like kind of like a psyop of the councils of Nicaea coming in and
And John,
kind
I'll
of.
go for one
Mhm.
like 30 more
And
seconds,
she's
but then I
just
really
ready to
well
dive in.
just because there's a lot there that
You're
I'd
putting
like
a
to
lot of
talk
claims
about.
out there, yeah.
Yeah, this is what I study, and I try
Well,
to study more of it. But yeah,
so
I'm doing my best to convey it as much best as possible. But I'm sure there's other scholars out there that convey it better. But God forgive me, I'm doing what I have here. So alhamdulillah.
Amy will
well,
forgive you.
we appreciate you coming on and saying what you believe and actually trying to convince us.
Mhm.
I want to talk about like an early foundation, which would be, when it comes to prophethood, James and I would say where most of the academic scholarship lies would be Adam and Eve, Moa, Gnosis. These people,
Abraham.
yeah, they did not
Isaac,
exist.
Jacob.
Isaac,
Yeah.
yeah. And so my question would be, how can you get us, if you want to get us to last prophet, how can you get us to first prophet?
Um, that's such a. I don't know how to answer that question. What do you mean? Like historical proof,
Do
or
you
like
like
the teachings, or do you want me to go out and to say, hey, archaeologically, I uh this is proves that Isaiah.
Just
Here's
clarify
what
your
I can
question.
say. Here's how I can answer it. So
Okay.
There was Dead Sea Scrolls that was most recently found, I want to say in the like 1950s, and all the Dead Sea Scrolls match up to the some of the biblical teachings, or the New Testament, the Old Testament, and the Hebrew. I don't know if anyone has a Hebrew Bible anymore, but at least the Old Testament, New Testament, they match up in the wisdom. It was a scribe of I forget. I haven't looked into this too much, um, yeah. So basically, the gist of it is that the Dead Sea Scrolls, you can look it up yourself and we can study it, is that it matches the teachings match up with the Old Testament and the New Testament. That's basically what I could say. And so basically there is some truth to it, but the thing is, when you're trying to convey something as like philosophical, and I guess some people say that the Bible is a little bit hard to read because you have to decode it a little bit. Like if you're reading the Quran, it's a little bit more direct, and it comes from a different place other than like the presupposition of coming from a Trinity. Whereas the Quran, it's just like God giving direct message to you or instruction to you. It's just like, your construction boss giving you instruction on how to build a house, right? You don't have these intermediaries that you have to go through, where you might get a little bit confused, because that's where I guess maybe the Bible gets a little bit confusing sometimes for some people.
Well,
But there's still a lot of wisdom in there for sure.
but can I ask?
Mhm.
Well, first, can I ask? Have you always been a Muslim?
No,
What were you before a Muslim?
I guess you could say as secular, and then I was like culturally Christian, and then I said my shahada, I think,
Is there
2 years ago.
is there
Yeah,
something that specifically convinced you of Islam?
the Trinity, the concept of the Trinity, and also
Convinced you of Islam?
the acceptance of other Abrahamic religions as well. I guess maybe coming from a secular background, that was like also enticing as well. So it was kind of like a why not religion, because I could still read the Bible and still be Muslim. Whereas in Christianity, they basically they shun the other Abrahamic religions, and they say only the Trinity is the best. And there's
So
also
you're
all
like,
these
I might as well
denominations,
forgo
and there's,
for version 3 because I can look at version 2 and 1. That's what you're saying?
yeah, like there's a lot of different versions of Christianity, and also to the concept of the Trinity is I can't, like a lot of Christians, they pray through the Trinity, and I can't pray through the Trinity. And I guess a lot of, maybe some of my, it's kind of split. Like like there's some people that are thankful that I'm believer of a faith, and there's other people that despise me because I don't believe in the Trinity. I mean, they can suck my dick, but
I mean, both of us here, I don't think either of us.
and we can have a fucking bully roar here. I don't care.
Well, no,
But
I don't think either of us. James probably used to believe in the Trinity, and I never
Yep,
believed
yep.
in the Trinity. So I
it's a
don't
useless
really
concept.
understand. I don't really
I think a
understand.
lot of Christians
Christianity
find
to me is a
comfort.
very weird
I
religion.
think a lot of Christians actually find comfort
They
in the
all are,
fact that
though.
it's impossible to understand, because
They're apostates. That's what they are. They're apostates.
God
What
is
apostates?
got to be so much bigger and so much different than us. Like, wouldn't it make sense that we can't even really comprehend him, because he's three, but he's one, but he's also three, but he really is just one. But no, he really actually is three, all
Hmm.
at the same time.
Hmm.
And I think that in a way, they like, how could you make that up? Like, who would come up with something like that unless it was true? It's
Humans.
so crazy. It's got to be true, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very subversive thing. And also too, in Jeremiah, it talks about it's pretty gruesome in how it talks about like idol worship, and what happens to the idol worshippers in the end days, and how to treat them. Um, is just basically treat them like nothing
I don't think.
when the end days come, according to Jeremiah. So There's a lot of it's
Nobody
quite
really worships
when
idols
you
anymore.
actually because I feel like a lot of Christians, like, they go to church, and then the priest kind of has this like built-in narrative in his head, and he there is some honest priests out there that do preach. Like, I could think of a couple pastors in Canada that like do want to stick to the word and be keepers of the faith, and good for them. But there's most Christians, or pastors, they kind of have like a built-in narrative in their head already, like, kind of like it's inculcated with like the secular world, and it kind of it fogs their lens in reading scripture, and so basically they kind of have this, like, whenever you're in like a Bible study with them, you can kind of tell, like, I think I was in a Bible study with like the Salvation Army, and they they're trying to read, like, you could just kind of tell they were trying to twist it into something that, like, it wasn't actually saying. And so when I started asking questions, they started to get annoyed with me. And so I kind of was just like, well, why are you getting annoyed? But I
Well,
think
what
that's a lot of
what
problem
do
with
you
the
tend to
churches
get annoyed
today. And
with?
I feel this is how atheism has come about, is because of these like churches that just kind of like, they don't actually read the Bible and interpret it literally, or they interpret it through a foggy lens of the Trinity. And so they don't like
But
honestly
can I?
get a better grasp of what it is. They just kind of pollute it. Like,
But
now you have like LGBT
Right.
people polluting the Bible, and just saying, quoting scripture, saying, "Love thy neighbor." Well, what does it say in Deuteronomy?
Wrap
Whoever lie with
wrap
the
up
man
your
with the
point.
man, and the woman with the woman, will be given to a reprobate mind. You
And
know,
that's basically good evidence that if this God was real, we would have to oppose him, because anyone who opposes something like our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, we'd have to be, he'd be a moral reprobate.
it is. It's a sin. It's a sin, just like drinking and stealing and cheating. Sodomy is
Hating
also
your
a sin.
LGBT. No, 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 no. I mean, like, I would say this God is a moral rep. You don't think this God would be a moral reprobate if he hated his LGBTQ brothers and sisters, or I guess in this case, children?
What do you mean, like, hate?
Oh, just looked down upon,
Want to
thought it
have
was
them killed,
lower or killed.
or
Oh my
do
God,
mean
he would
things
be
to
a.
them after they're dead.
But I don't feel like God would be such a degenerate as to like want LGBTQ people dead. That would be an evil God. Who would that?
No, I don't think he wants. Well, if you look at like there's a lot of scripture that say, the you know the path is big and wide, but few are called, and even fewer walk through the path. So I don't even know if I'm gonna last through the tribulation. I have thoughts in my head. I'm like, I don't know. I sin, and I'm not perfect, and I don't know if I'll be. We'll have to come. We'll have to see in the
But
next
can
coming
but can we?
tribulation. See
What
if
if we could
I'm
free
worth
you?
it.
But what
Pardon?
if we could? What if we could free you? Because sinning just means offending a God. That's all sinning means. Now, it doesn't mean that you could go out and do bad things to other people, because that would be a shitty thing to do. But you don't have to care whether
Just things that would make God sad.
just do things that would be right. I can't
Um. So, like, smoking crack is not a sin. Drinking alcohol is not a sin. Well, I guess getting drunk, too. That's not a sin.
I
Like,
think Allah considers it a sin, doesn't he?
pardon?
Doesn't
When you
maybe
say sin, do you
Muhammad.
mean in terms of your religious belief, or in terms of our secular version of morality?
Well, the secular version of morality comes from the Bible. Uh, I guess you could say the Bible. Yeah, the Bible.
I mean, there might
Or
be a
I guess
few
you could,
things in
if
there
you
that
really
come from
want
the
to go back
Bible.
historically, I think if you want to talk about prophets, you could talk about like the Zoroastrian religion, or Abraham, or um, uh, not necessarily. Buddhism is a bit of idolatry. I don't like Buddhism. Yeah, that's idolatry. But
Different flavors
I
of the
would
same poisonous cocktail.
that you're free to you're free to blaspheme the God. Like I'm not gonna get mad. Like you can, you guys can come in here and you can blaspheme all you want. You can apologize for degenerate behavior and kids getting, and
Why are
LGBT going
we
after
being degenerate
children.
and he's not? And wait, I always like to say this, ladies and gentlemen, a PSA. Kids
Yeah.
cannot be groomed to be gay, but they can be indoctrinated with religion.
How is that bad to be I don't know that's
You,
I feel like now I don't want to use the word feel around
No,
you,
and
but
and it's
the thing is like I get this sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I get this sense that theists are totally irrational people because they want to be guided by principles that were enshrined through prophets and that have helped build civilization, and that's the foundation, and basically the product of everything like liberalism, secularism comes from the Bible. And it just seems like
oh,
now
see,
it's just like, well, you know what, we don't need those morals anymore, we have science.
our
And
government comes from Rome and Greece and other
anybody
things that
yeah
predate
and
any of these
anybody
Abrahamic religions.
anybody that still believes in it is like doesn't believe in science. And I find that's like very
no,
disingenuous
there are
because it's
people.
like,
There are people who believe in science and who accept religion. They just leave there. They're great scientists who are theists. They just separate the two. They have that cognitive dissonance in their mind, and they do good science, but they also believe things that I would say are not rational in terms of religion, and that's their right. Um,
what do you mean it's not rational?
they're believing things for without good reason, without any justifiable evidence to believe them, just because an old book says so.
What can
Say
you
that's
name
not
one?
rational.
Can you name one thing that's like irrational?
Everything to do the existence of God itself is not
And
Just
I
name. I'm just saying, name one thing
can
that's
I
irrational that they
can
believe.
I can I bring up something that I would say specifically from the Quran that I almost never get good apologetics for. In fact, after I bring it up, we get attacks towards science, which is there's an entire chapter in the Quran called The Ant. And it is about Solomon talking to ants, having a conversation. The ants talk back. The ants then do things. The ants talk to the other ants, then tell Solomon about it. Solomon laughs. Um, yeah,
the ends are
science.
doing a comedy skit. It sounds like.
Sounds good. I don't know. I don't know that that's really. So I guess that's what's wrong with it is because Solomon. I like the thing is, it's just like it's how you be in the world, and it's the story also too. The Bible's, I guess, filled with that. Is it's a story. There's like a moral to the lesson, and it's enshrined in our human culture. I guess I know atheists
You
who are
think it's
just like,
not literal?
well, pardon?
You think it's not literal then? It's just metaphor? It's just stories to teach us lessons? Or
Yeah,
how do we know what's literal and what's figurative?
yeah. Well, the thing is, you get moral lessons from the story.
But are they literal stories? Did the events actually happen, like the global flood? Is that an actual event, do you think? Or is that just a story they told so people wouldn't try to piss off God because be afraid he might flood the world again?
Well, I think it's a very complicated issue, and it's a philosophical issue, and it involves morals. I feel like you guys are coming from the premise of, can you prove it? Can you touch it? Can you feel it? Can you see it? And
Is it
I don't know.
real?
That's a thing. That's why I made that comment of like, well, why am I going to explain theological history to atheists? They're going to be like, well, can you see it? Can you touch it? Can you feel it? And I'm just saying it's just been passed down from generation to generation to generation. And I guess maybe that's the best I could do. But in terms of like talking morals, I don't know, because we're totally different in that it's really hard to have a conversation with you, because it's just like we're comparing apples and oranges. It's not like it's not like I'm trying to prove to you the double slit experiment
Sure.
and what's the. I'm just telling you like how to be in the world and how to. We're basically talking about changing people's hearts and how to act in the world, and being honest with themselves. And today, most people don't want to be honest with them. I'm not saying you guys are honest with yourself. I'm just saying most people don't want to be honest with themselves. And this is why we're in this mess, is because we've lost direction, and we don't really have any, I guess when people would
What
say, a
we
moral
need is
compass
one
to
direction.
strive for. And so, pardon?
I was just making a
You
one
said
direction.
we lost our
joke.
direction, so she
Yeah.
just do a joke in there.
Making a dad joke. Don't mind
Oh,
me.
okay.
It's a UK band. I think it's
She can't help it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know what I could offer to you, except maybe people who are listening and maybe be on the fence. And I hope that it sparks the interest in studying the theological history of, not just through a Christian lens, but maybe through a Muslim lens, and studying the different prophets, and studying their teachings, and understanding them through a moral lens, and how to build character, how to be in the world, right? That's different than trying to prove a science experiment. Whereas a science experiment, here we have a hypothesis, and I'm going to throw this ball against this wall, and I have a hypothesis going to stick to the wall, and this is my reason. These are my reasons, right? Whereas like religion, it builds a moral foundation in order to uh, not be irrational. I feel a lot of atheists believe that it's irrational, and it's not. It's how you want to be it's how you want to improve yourself, in that you could be a more productive member of society.
Can I ask why prophets again? Be like, why this middleman? Why can't you, and not just you, why does it have to be this one dude? Why can't it just be that God talks with everyone, he has a strong signal and is able to communicate clearly? Why these prophets, these middlemen to begin with?
That's an interesting question. That's a very deep
Thank you.
question. So I would say that these prophets are examples that came down to, in their times of history, to come down and to uplift humanity, give humanity a moral direction. I'm just going to keep saying moral direction. And that's why I guess you could say Christians say that there's going to be and some Muslims believe that Modi's going to come back, and Christians believe Jesus is going to come back. I think Muslims believe Modi and Jesus is going to come back, and Christians believe Jesus is going to come back in his second coming.
Can I?
The only thing, I'm gonna elaborate on that,
Okay. But then I
the
want to ask
thing
you a
is,
question after.
sure. And the problem with, I guess, some Christians is that they get apathetic, and they're thinking, this world, it's damned, and it's very corrupt, and our society's corrupt from the top down, and anything I try to do, they always try to stifle it, or they, throw me in prison for preaching, that homosexuality is a sin, and I get discouraged by that. And I would say
You
that
threw all those people in prison.
if you get discouraged by people persecuting you, you're not living in the, some would say, the Christ consciousness. This goes back to this character.
That happens.
Yeah, you're supposed to take the heat. Like, the more that you preach, the more that you use your tongue into cutting through, getting at the heart of the matter, the more that you do that, the more you're going to get disliked in the world by those who are sinning. And you'll feel that it's insurmountable. But I think what really is missing in our modern age, especially, is that people are just striving for comfort as opposed to striving
Do we have
for
Westboro
meaning.
Baptist Church on the line?
Pardon?
You just sound like somebody from Westboro Baptist Church making their claims about themselves being persecuted, and that's evidence that they're right because the world persecutes them.
And I would actually just say that's a heads I win, tails you lose, because I've heard this claim before, and what this is saying is, if we become a minority, if we become persecuted, then our religion is correct. However, if we reign supreme, if everyone also is nice to us and our brothers begin to cherish and sisters begin to cherish us, that is also prophecy, right? And so it's kind of like
that talks about Zion. Yeah, like that would be like Zion. No, I guess the Bible, it talks about like Babylon and Zion, and right now we're in Babylon, and so we want to strive for Zion, where we have, or I guess some, like in other religious teachings, it'd also be like the age of Aquarius. So we were in Pisces, and now we're entering into the age of Aquarius of abundance.
And I want to go to what I think is the crux of religion, I guess prophethood and all this for you, which, and I swear this is, I meant every word, but I was trying to be spicy back. Let me call.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get my sugar water. But I was trying to evoke. You didn't want to say it, but I'll say it here. Sure. An emotion, because I would say both intellectually and emotionally, I would morally oppose a lot of the laws and maybe even this God. And so what I think the crux is moral. The moral issue sounds to me, and I just want to know, say tomorrow, and I normally save till the end the question of really what changes one's mind. So put that in your pocket. But say tomorrow you woke up and you had irrefutable evidence that God does not exist. You were like, shit, I can't believe it. I was wrong, and I don't even know what to do anymore. My question would be, do you then go out and start raping, murdering, killing,
drinking alcohol, eating pork, all these, terrible things?
Just going crazy, doing everything. Once again, you have irrefutable proof there is no God.
Do you pick up that beer?
Right, because basically you're operating on the assumption that we don't have a soul, we're not vibrational creatures. We're just skin and bones, and then
biological organisms.
We just rot in the earth, and our consciousness just doesn't exist anymore.
And you wake up and there's no God. Do you start killing people?
Wait, do I realize this after I'm dead? I realize that there's no God?
No. You wake up tomorrow morning, and somehow, because I normally wait till the end to ask what would change your mind, but
Okay.
it's really about morality. I could tell, but after going through
Yeah,
some of your things.
yeah,
So I
it's
continue
morality
to know. Do you
study
kill
and
grandma? Do you steal from the girl down the street, even though she's missing legs and has diabetes?
Do you drink that?
that world, uh, and maybe like this is maybe why I could uh maybe empathize with your viewpoint when you say those things, and you're not the only person that has said something to along those lines. It's like I've had other people say, "Oh, you're getting too much into the spiritual. You should focus on the material." Blah blah blah. This that right. So, um, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, um, it's just it's how you be. So, if you just live in a world of like once you get into that mindset, and maybe this is why that a lot of theists say that this is kind of the end times of like you see atheism and you see
They've
this
always
sexual
said that.
degeneracy
Keep that in mind.
and
They've
and
always said
and you
that.
see and you see people justifying these like atrocious things. And
You
so
see gay,
I
gay
guess
marriage
if
in
I if
churches.
I woke up if I woke up and I just said fuck it, like fuck God, uh fuck his teachings, I got my intellect, and like you can't 100% prove with archaeological studies that God exists. So, I'm just going to shun everybody else who thinks that, and I'm going to justify some. You can justify horrific things.
With
I,
religion, yeah.
it- Another, I guess,
Sup, Robert?
law system, or I guess belief is like a Luciferian belief. So some people say that atheism is like a branch of Luciferianism, and I'm trying to maybe I'm understanding it a little bit. Like it's kind of like you kind of like not necessarily trick them, but you just bring it out there, and then if they don't object, and then you're good to go. Like you can do whatever you want. Like if as long as you warn them. So there's this Luciferian, I guess.
But see,
Um,
can I just pause you? We're not
right.
trying to bring you over to evil. We're trying to prove that you're good. Trying to prove that you are naturally a decent human being and that you would continue to be a decent human being. We're not
I don't.
trying
I
to.
honestly. I honestly. I don't. No, I don't believe that for 1 second. Maybe past lives I was like a Luciferian, and like I can kind of like know
You
what they're
believe in
doing.
past lives?
Yeah. So like some would
Reincarnation.
say no Catholic.
Reincarnation Muslim.
Well, that's a different topic for the time. I think actually Judaism, some part of Judaism, they believe in reincarnation as well too. So uh, it's not really that foreign in Abrahamic teaching. But I would say that
I don't remember
if
that
if
in Hebrew
I
school.
believe if there was no higher like morals or like anything to strive for, and that I'm the best thing that ever was, and like I don't need anything to hold me back, and as long as
There's nothing holding me
I
back.
I guess you could say, maybe from my perspective, it would be like as long as I say that, and I kind of maybe I've done this with people before. Well, not necessarily
We won't tell.
done it, but I've
We,
I've
we
thought
won't
about
tell
it,
anyone.
and I've actually this is how our law system works actually. So I've thought about this. So basically, in law, it's like
We're
if
not even live. Just keep on going.
yeah. So basically, like it's just like is if you bring something out, like if you make a claim and then nobody rebuts it within a certain amount of time, then that stands as fact. I guess you could say like an affidavit. An unrebutted affidavit stands as fact. So my gist is, so if I don't believe in anything higher, and actually I would still believe that too. If I had something to operate off of that wasn't something higher, I'd be like I'd probably think like a Luciferian or like maybe a Freemason. Well, still a Freemason is like a kind of a thing, but like I guess you could say there's.
Can I ask? And actually,
Oh
wait.
boy.
I'm going to. I don't know if I should ask you what you think Freemasons are, or I should tell you what Freemasons are.
There's a lot of like it's a very complex. But I'm just giving you the foundation of what Luciferianism or I guess Freemasonry is, and
But see, you're
and
also using a lot of time. I feel like
A lot of
use the
those
word
special
feel,
terms.
but
You're
like a
perking her ears up.
Freemason. Well, a Freemason is just a deist fraternity that they just believe in the great architect, and so they get lumped in with Luciferian. I think you were saying, which I think if they don't
Luciferian.
worship the devil.
No, it's quite like if
So
you
what do
start
you think
mentioning
the
about God, if
Freemasons
you start
are?
mentioning about God or anything like that, then that's when like God has a higher power, then that's when but like Lucifer's, they kind of think of themselves as like gods themselves, and that
See,
there's
I
no
don't think
higher
that's
moral and that there's no moral values to strive for. It's only you strive for on top of the pyramid. You strive for itself. That's I guess that's the angel Lucifer. It's a fallen angel from heaven, and basically it strives to come up the hierarchy bit by bit by bit, and that's basically the. I'm just giving you the gist of it. Like I'm not going to give you like a detailed analysis. I don't know if that's what you guys
Oh,
wanted, or maybe if you wanted to
I
hear.
think
But
we're okay.
I'm doing
no.
my
It's
best. I'm
just
doing my best here
you're
to.
fine. I would just
Mhm,
separate.
mhm.
I would just separate the two groups because I don't think that the Masons would view themselves as worshiping Lucifer or a fallen angel, and I think that
No,
Satanists or Luciferians would be very proud in that, depending on if you're a Anton LaVey Satanism or a Satanist that is actually theistic and.
yeah, yeah. It's a mixed bag, but basically they don't believe in like a moral higher moral law of the universe. They
Uh,
believe that their
I mean,
their
it's
only law is consent.
my one critique of Freemasonry is that you have to be deist or higher to even be in. They
You
will
have to
not
be
allow
a theist
atheists.
or of some kind.
So
It's oh
I'm
yeah,
just
even
going to put that out there. As
yeah.
much as I do love protecting, because they get so much shit when generally it's just a bunch of guys, I believe, drinking beer and trying to get away from their wives. But uh,
Well, I mean, there's
that's
other stuff
another
going
story.
on. There's other stuff going on. I've actually yeah,
Yeah,
I've watched
they
some
worship the
YouTube
devil behind closed
like
doors. Yeah.
yeah, like seriously,
We
like
worship
they,
the
they do some weird
architect. It's
stuff.
just like
Like
be a
I
hat.
don't know,
Be a
it's
you basically it's just like I don't want to say AA because AA actually is really Christian, but to be a Freemason you just have to say that you believe in a higher power. That is basically the language that they use is that you have to be that. You can't be an atheist. Anything else you could be in. You could be any Christian, Muslim, deist, pagan, be anything. You just can't be an
Worship
atheist.
a fucking
so.
rock.
So would you describe yourself as like a moral nihilist?
No, I don't think many. I would say most atheists are not nihilists, which, to the surprise of many creationists and theists, no, we find a lot of enjoyment, a lot of morality, a lot of value in different things. It's just that we understand there's going to be a heat death in the universe. We understand all the dark things that you turn on emo music for, but doesn't mean a steak doesn't taste good. Doesn't mean you can't love your partner. You know what I mean? It's like I said, we do good because it feels good to you to keep on using that word.
Oh
Because
boy.
Oh boy.
uh, uh,
Oh, hedonism. Yeah, that's the only thing with like atheism that is to get
but
to
you
get
say
trapped in this like
you say
hedonism. Like
hedonism.
if it feels good,
I don't mean no. I don't mean like eating grapes and burning Rome. I mean like to pet the cat's head feels good. Dopamine rips
Do
into
something
our
nice
head.
to somebody.
Like I'm telling you, the biological basis behind altruism.
but you could see how people would say, "Well, it feels good, so I'm just going to do it."
Sure, but like, what do you mean? Like, do you mean it feels good because I'm helping this old lady across the street and dopamine is actually sinking into my head, even though I get nothing
And
back from this?
and
Or
then
do
the
you mean
religion person.
I'm pushing the old lady into the street because I am a psychopath and thus I'm getting dopamine? That person we need
That's
to
like a okay. That's a
isolate.
minority of people, but
Exactly. My friend, my
I,
brother. Exactly.
But
uh,
then the religion comes along and they say anything, basically, anything that feels good is bad or has to be very tightly regulated, only permissible under a very certain set of guidelines set up by our deity as controlled by the priest class. Seems more
And
like
also,
a control mechanism.
we'll go on for 10 more minutes, John, to finish up our conversation, but then we
okay.
got another person backstage. But we've been having a fantastic conversation. We are calling me skeptical and do profits exist. We really do appreciate, like I said, even though we give spice back, we expect spice and good exchange of
He controls
ideas.
the
So,
spice. Go ahead, Amy.
he who controls the spice controls the universe. It's true. It's true.
She got that out of her system.
Look, Dune is
So
good.
it's a very interesting platform because it's just like you open up the doors to very, I guess, spicy topics, and it's like it's
We take
probably
them
like
head on.
a lot of people they would just I get a lot of progressives they just want to block me from Twitter or they if I start going into a little bit of detail they get a little triggered and it's like oh okay there's this like
I
hedonist
can
like,
understand.
progressive but you're actually just in a way I could kind of respect it because like you're standing on it you're not
Oh,
trying
thank
to
you.
hide away or you're because I feel like a lot of like people I guess that are I guess progressive or don't believe a higher power or they don't believe in God
You
or
call them
they're
atheists.
anti-God I guess they kind of
Anti-theists.
they have like a guilt like thing like they know they're doing something wrong but they still do it anyway and but you guys just you stick to your guns and so
Well,
I don't know what I mean like the LGBT thing like obviously like there is studies that a lot of LGBT tend to be devolve into pedophilia or they can't reproduce
Really? Really?
they can't uh
Take a deep
they
breath.
go after the kids right they can't reproduce their own
Save
kids
the children.
so they go after the children and they indoctrinate the children with their doctrine
I,
but
and it's a part of a depopulation agenda of the West apparently well especially the
you know,
West
I just find it ironic that somebody from your faith is coming out with the pedo word
I was gonna
when
say,
you openly admit that your prophet married a girl and had relations with her when she was less than 10 years old. I mean, is that really like a topic you want to go into
it's not
when
Catholic Church.
compulsionary to marry young and
but it was
and
permissible apparently.
nowhere in the
It was
Quran does it
okay.
say nowhere in the Quran does it say like to live an optimal life you have to marry a 11-year-old although a lot of Christian there is a lot of kind of weird sex.
Can I
And,
just say though,
yeah.
like for someone who is just saying they're going after our children, don't you just find the last 15 seconds of what you're like, yeah, but
It's not mandatory
children,
pedophilia. It's
they
just
wouldn't have
optional.
it.
I mean, I just think of it like of a different time, like the prophets. The child marriage was
It
I
was
guess you
more.
could
It
say
was
more. It was like more
permissible
so
back
like
then.
yeah, like I
It
mean,
wasn't looked
it was
down
even
on
like
like
like I think it was like Adam, like Islam actually like they limited to 4 wives, and like because there was I like in those times like around Jesus in the Middle East there was like warlords like uh, Adam, Isaac. They had like they just married people whoever they conquered, so they had like 70 wives and they couldn't keep track of them. And so Islam came along and say, hey, we have to reform this. You can only have 4 wives, and here's a stipulation:
And he stopped the conquering bullshit.
you can only have as much that you can contribute to. So if you can only if the man can only contribute to having 2 wives, he must only have 2 wives. Like if you can only provide for, I guess that would be the proper word. If you can only provide for 1 wife, you only have 1 wife. So you have to be
Can I
responsible.
can I
So
just ask?
it teaches responsibility. But if you want to have 4 wives, I am of the school of like go for it. Like
But hold
yeah,
on.
like if you want to have 4 wives and if you're rich and you want to have 4 wives, we need to repopulate the West quicker. And a teaching of Islam is a great way. If you have money, you have 4 wives. Women are naturally, we could say,
But
hypergamous, but um, that would be in line with Islamic teaching.
Dorothy. We're
And
not in
and the
Kansas
poor
anymore.
and the
don't want
poor
four. Why not
and,
4
and we could have
husbands?
a class system. It's like if you're really rich, you can have like 4 wives, and if you're kind of
Amy
like
had
middle class,
multiple
But
you
husbands
can
John,
have like two
and wives.
wives,
well,
and if you're poor, you only have one.
hold on. Uh, I want to say first before we got
Allah
to
Akbar.
the super flame. So, and I'll come back to the super flame comments because I think you did at one point compliment us. So I want to say thank you for I think the compliment. We want to give
He said we
people
have a nice
uh,
format.
because we want to give people who really disagree with us because that's how you know if your beliefs stand trial by listening to other views, by having other people push back, by you pushing back on them, and vice versa. I've grown, James has grown. I think all of our guests and our panels and everything grows. But I can't. I have to push back on this because I find the word of the day is narrative. And we get this narrative a lot from fundamentalist creationists who say, oh, please, someone, please, can't you just save the women and children? And just all they do, day in and day out, is shit on women and children. And so, like,
I don't feel like I've shit on women and children. I'm
no,
just
no,
like
no.
that's
And
what
I
I
don't
actually
mean
believe
you.
that.
I don't mean you. But like
Okay.
when James kind of when you got super spicy and James got super spicy back and was like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, really? Oh, religious people of all the thing." I mean, between Islam and Catholicism, I mean,
Okay.
it just hasn't been a great track record for children with religion. And so I don't know. I feel like I just really have to put that pin in there
Okay.
because I feel like it
So
is
you're
religion
I'm not
that
saying
we
you
have to
support
save
it.
children from.
right.
Yeah, we're not
Did I
saying
did I
you
did
are.
I did I like now I don't want to sound insensitive, but have you guys like had bad experiences with like churches? Like I've had bad experiences, but I guess some people like they become atheists because they had a
I
bad
haven't,
experience, and
and
that's like, very understandable.
I'm an ex-Jew, and I my synagogue didn't have any of that.
Okay. 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 Well, that's what about James
No,
then?
no, I didn't have any experiences like that. There was a Sunday school teacher who was convicted of child molestation at a Baptist church I went to, but
Yeah.
fortunately, none of that ever happened to me or my younger
Thank you,
sister
Dale.
who
Yeah.
went to the church. But he was a family friend. It was he was a guy who was around, and was kind of eerie to see that he had touched a couple kids inappropriately on the church bus. So that's all I can say about my direct personal experience.
Yeah. Oh, I was just actually going to mention. Did you guys hear about like Justy Lee's Peterson's hit piece? I'm sure you guys will love it.
And this will be also, we got our last minute, so we'll talk about
Okay.
this. We'll
Jesse
wrap
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and then
I didn't hear about it. Did you, Amy?
Okay. Actually, there's
I
a
am not.
claim. There's claim, and there's actually some testimony out there that he I forget the term, but he had like homoerotic relationship with people that he worked with in the past.
Okay.
I just saw like I don't know if you know Baked Alaska, but I just saw like his
I know the dessert Baked Alaska. I don't know the channel.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
amazing guy. Gotcha.
yeah,
Amazing.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
That
I guess
would not.
there's also like the
that
Hague
would
Show,
actually be funny.
and there's a claim out there, and I'm just gonna say because I don't know too much about it, but there's a claim out there that he had like he was in a bedroom with the guy from the Hague Report, and he was like wrapped in sheets, and they were like he was like petting Hague or something like that. I'm not quite sure on the details, but basically the gist of it, he
Don't
has
kink
like
shame anybody.
yeah, it's just like he has like this like homoerotic like kind of supposedly unconsensual
Oh wow.
sex with his coworkers from the past. That's the claim, and I'm not saying it's true or false. I need to look into a little bit more, but yeah. So that's you know, I'll leave you with that. And then also there was a comment too about a wife having 4 husbands. Women are
They
not
were
the
asking about
same
that
as
in the chat.
men. Like women are not breadwinners. Not all, but most. And so it's not. Yeah, it's
John
Let's say
Stone
he
says
identifies as a
not
man.
really like. I just feel like
What if she identifies as a man and becomes gay? Then she could have wives.
you're born of. I'm gonna say this. You're born of the sex.
James, you're just setting them up to
Women.
make it worse, right?
just because you're like a woman and you feel like a man. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation.
Gonna
But I only
say
have a
before
minute.
we only have 30
That's a
more
whole rabbit
seconds,
hole.
and that's gonna
That's a
be
whole rabbit hole. But I just wanted to say that
Bunghole.
nobody's perfect. Even these prophets, even these priests, and it's obviously we want them to have less mishaps, I guess you could say. No matter like a politician, a priest, even a scientist. We would like to have less mishaps in the people that we look up to, but you just have to remember that these are also human beings as well too, and they're not perfect. And so that when you see things through the eyes of unconditional love, that you forgive them, and that you don't necessarily agree with them, but that you forgive them, and it's a great teaching to go by. And that they repent and that they strive to be better people, because God is very merciful
No, he's not doorknob.
to people's sins, and so I feel like atheists kind of maybe miss out on that, and that's kind of how this, like, I guess, transgender thing comes in and all that, and then they kind of say, oh, there's nothing with
come in
the
a lot of places.
prophets and nothing moral. Like I don't feel like atheists come in with a moral question. They just come in with a scientific question, and so it's really hard to maybe explain that side of the theological thing. But I think a lot of people instinctively know that what's right, what's wrong, and also too the women and children thing. It's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. Even like when I saw children with masks, I felt like I really wanted to defend them. So if you if you feel like, you know, oh, that mask
From
wouldn't have
they're
worked.
being brutally assaulted.
Yeah, like they're
Correct.
defenseless beings, and naturally, even if they're not your own, you know, you have an inclination to want to defend them, and that's a very normal thing to do.
Defend them from what?
Defend them from, you know, from harm, from
Yeah.
harm that you know
You
that's
put a
going on,
mask
and
on them so
that you
that
can
you
only
defend them from
objectively
viruses.
realize that teaching our children homosexuality is normal and masking them mentally damages them for life.
Did you just say masking them? Come on. Come on, my dude. Masking mentally damage. Oh,
Oh, I think that's like one of the least
okay.
of
We
the
did
worries
not.
that are we didn't kick him out. He just
We did
left.
not kick him. That
I,
was his ending statement.
doesn't that
John,
seem to
we're
be among like
sending
the
you
least
love.
things that that kids should have to worry about is that because there are millions of kids all over the world in theist households every
Thank you,
day
Ian.
who are subject to grotesque physical abuse because that stupid book says that beating your kids is good parenting. And the same stupid book says, oh, if that doesn't work, just go ahead and execute your kids.
I
I mean,
know.
that's the reality. There are kids being beaten to death because parents read in that stupid book that that's the way to be a good parent. And it says if you beat your child, you won't kill them. Really? Really? Well, except when you do. Except when you do.
We are going to get very quickly. I'm just going to pop in 3 more
A couple
of
more.
these,
And we'll
and
get
then
Luxor
we're
in.
going to get Luxor in. But sending love to Diana Smith, but also Pat Lowinger. Woohoo! Sending love to the lovely Pat. I've seen him back and forth in Shadow Spheres, but I've also seen him talk skeptic to me on many episodes on here.
Pat?
We
Yeah.
have I've one coming up with the gentleman I'm about to give a shout out to, Dale. But also, you should check Pat out at youtube.com/biddybuddha_ and go learn some shit.
Pat's over in England right now on an
That's
archaeological
right.
dig, so he will
He's
probably not
fighting
be around much.
Nazis and trying to get crystal skulls right now with whips. But also sending love.
He's out. He's on assignment.
And Dale Pastel, because we're just looking for a little bit of empirical evidence. Sending
Just a little.
so much love, Dale. I saw him out there sending so much love into the chatosphere, into the interwebs, and Dale, and all of the skeptic community. That's all we're really looking for. A little bit of empirical evidence.
If you guys don't know, if you guys forgot or haven't heard yet, today, this is Thursday night, not tomorrow, but Saturday night. I have a debate with Nephilim Free on Standing for Truth on human dinosaur coexistence. Yeah. Check that debate out. It's going to be fun.
Yes, you should. Because it's going to be, well, his views are just buckets of wisdom. So you should check James Dismantle that. But also, sending love.
Where do you even start with that?
We'll send out love to this, and then we'll continue the list after we get our next guest in. But sending love also to Pat and Dale and Dagar.
Dagar.
He's reminding us the world is round. I can't believe we even have to say this. It always sounds weird when you say 2020. Like when you say
said that.
Insert date, they believe the world is flat. Yes. Insert date, they always will, because conspiracy theorists are unfortunately always going to be around. The only thing we could do, like a vaccine, is minimize. You want to minimize as greatly as we can. The same with religion and all superstitious beliefs. And so sending so much love, Dave Gar, sending love. Continue to our Patreons. You guys, our subscribers, and our viewers, you guys are who make this possible. But
that's right,
let's get... I'm going to take another drinky.
What's on the menu
Sponsored by
tonight, Amy?
caffeine. I know. I've been
Energy
trying
drink?
a new energy drink. It's called. Can we show? I always get weird showing sponsors, but it's called Bang, and because
Or is it Bing or Bang?
Bang, BANG, and what I
Cherry?
like about this is this. So this one's
Is it
purple.
the
This
cherry?
one, I would try the cherry. My favorite is the pink. It's pink unicorn or whatever, but it tastes like candy, and so it's pretty freaking great. The kill talk. That's right. Uh, the LGBTQ children wear masks to cover the temptation they feel to think. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that science is what's actually going to protect children. That's the only
Go figure.
thing. It's not going to be thoughts. It's not going to be prayers. Jesse Lee Peterson, a hypocrite. I'm shocked. What is up, Porpoise? What is up, everyone out there on YouTube,
Absolutely
Twitch? Yeah, and that's what I dislike so much about religion, is that it is basically, without it, a lot of the dislike for LGBTQ people would
not.
dissipate. Anyway,
Thanks,
let's
Robert.
yeah, that's right.
Robert likes Gizmo.
Woohoo! Oh, our producer is so adorable. I love just seeing him because he has the smile on his face. That is
He's always
so
got
adorable.
a smirk.
Oh, thank you so very much, Porpoise. I'm busy mocking by now. Athena says hi to Gizmo. Yay! We say hi.
Got
to
other kitty
Gizmo.
fans out there, Gizmo.
Exactly. And all right, he's been waiting patiently. Let's bring them on.
Drop
We
your
are
cock and
calling
grab
me
your socks.
Hells yeah, we are calling me skeptical, and do profits exist? What is up, Luxor?
Okay.
I can now.
All right.
How are you doing? And we are calling me skeptical, and do profits exist?
Well, I guess my Muslim buddy dropped out on me, so I don't I don't have anyone to bounce too many ideas off of in that category. But I'll tell you, I do agree with him on some of the things that he said, like the.
Oh my.
Well, see, I don't know where you want to start. First of all,
Are you a
let me tell you,
Muslim?
no, I'm not.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you a great place to start. It's the classic agnostic, atheist, skeptic question that we just want to know. What do you believe? And why?
Okay, well, I'll give you a brief rundown of where I'm at. I'm a little rusty since last time I was on the show because I haven't really been doing my research over the past couple months. But
That's okay. We'll go easy on you.
Yeah, or you can go hard on me, but I I might not.
We'll say we'll let it
my.
allow Amy.
I might not have
she's
the
in charge of
mental
that.
ammo to or my lightsaber ready to deflect all those laser beam shots. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so I'll just say, as far as the Freemason stuff, I have done some research into that, and of course, most of them, they're just like Amy said, they're the pancake breakfast Masons, as the Masons themselves would call each other. You know, just the Masons that are in the Blue Lodge that go up to the Master Mason degree, and they're just, you know, guys that like to hang out, get some political hand ups as they because they're
Business contracts.
they technically pull each other up through the ranks, and because they're in the same brotherhood and all that stuff.
It's like a fraternity.
But when you do get up into the higher levels of things,
Like Scientology.
yeah, of course, I'll say they do believe in the higher levels. They believe in Lucifer as far as the Lucifer representing the light of the mind and the light of intellect and things like that, because they're technically at the higher levels, they do have a large hand in helping move the world forward and keep the gears turning and everything like that. But that's at most major, like the heads
So
of
you say
most major
Lucifer.
religions.
I'm telling you, it's the great architect, the great designer. That's how they try to frame it. But I mean, I agree with the first half of what you were saying.
Well, that
If I found a Mason, because I have Masons that used to come into, I used to work in retail, and my favorite would just be just saying any facts to them, because I feel like certain stuff they would laugh at, but whenever I would be like, send love to the great architect, they'd get very serious and they'd be like,
well, that's another.
but
It's
they've all
another.
been nice. They've all been sweethearts to me.
Yeah, well, that the great architect is just another metaphor or another symbol of
Sounds like
the.
deism.
Yeah, I mean, really, like let's just go back to like the whole idea of deism. Like if you go back to the caveman days, where you had people just like trying to answer the ultimate question, like what are we, why are we here, what is all this stuff, and then all these ideas of God start springing up and some power that's beyond us, um, and they really started to, I guess, look to the stars is basically the only thing that is immovable as far as human life is concerned is the stars. And then they started naming all that. They figured out the planets are the seven heavenly travelers and all that stuff, which they do. That also ties into Freemasonry, and all this
Okay.
stuff you could kind of lump into one big category that goes back into something you could call like the mystery schools or the mystery religion, which has a strong
They
origin.
had elements of that inside the mystery schools. Sure, they had studied astrology and things like that. Sure.
Hmm. And one of the strong, I guess, hubs of this teaching was Egypt. So like you go back to the time of Pythagoras.
Alexandria, Egypt. Yep.
Yeah. So you go back to the time of Pythagoras and um, uh, like Socrates and Plato.
Socrates.
Yeah, they were all like, let's take Pythagoras for example. He traveled to Egypt and over like I can't think of what it's called right now, but like he took an adventure to go to Egypt
Safari.
over 10 or 20. Yeah, like what do the Muslims call it whenever they travel to Mecca? It's called
The pilgrimage. Or
I guess like a pilgrimage. And then he went to Egypt on his, I think it took him like 10, 20 years to get there, whatever it was. And then he would stop along all these different points, learning the secrets of the temples and the masters and the areas until he got to Egypt. And then he stayed there for a long time. And then when he came out, just like all of these other great philosophers and great leaders, they carried with them this higher philosophy. Yeah, they carried with them this I guess pattern of thought that they brought, like mathematics, and they brought religion and all this stuff to other people. And their religion, as far as I've ever been able to figure it out, is it's all metaphor with a little bit of history sprinkled into it to make it plausible. But it's like if you look at I haven't studied the Muslim religion very deeply, but I know that they also believe in Jesus Christ. They believe he was one of the prophets, but Muhammad was one of the more recent prophets. So I guess he's more of a big deal than Jesus, because that's all I ever hear coming out of the Muslim religion is they talk about
he's the newest
Muhammad,
DLC as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So if you look at Jesus in the origin story of Jesus, the origins of Christianity, let's move to the Council of Nicaea and Constantine, and this was like 325 AD, and somewhere in that area, maybe 400 AD, I forget the exact date, but it was basically all of these little tribes that got together in this one council that said that they took all their holy scripture, they compiled them, they had this big meeting and said, all right, now we're going to take a vote on what books on what books go into this Bible, this compiled.
Yeah, they compiled the canon.
Yeah, and then in the ones that it's easy to think that maybe the Nag Hammadi library are a lot of the ones that did not make it into the final cut of the Bible, the Book of Thomas and stuff like that. Those
Gnostic
did not.
Gospels,
Those didn't make the final vote. But if you look at a lot of them, they tell basically the same story, but from a different perspective or different wording or something like that. So you can imagine that a couple of these different tribes they had their sacred doctrines that they brought to the Council of Nicaea, and then they said, hey, our stuff says basically the same thing. So they just voted on the one that was more practical or maybe more politically correct at the time. And
under the guise of the Holy Spirit, of course, guiding them and making sure that the canon was protected and that they weren't going to be, because God wouldn't allow them to put things in his book that were not true, or he wouldn't allow them to omit things that he needed his people to know. So I think they took to the task as that they were under the guise of the Holy Spirit.
I'm going to step away for 1 second, but then Luxor, I just want to ask you a question.
Okay.
But you can respond in anything else you want to
first. Amy, did you want to step away first, or do you want to ask the question first?
Yeah, well, actually, finish your statement because I want to hear your answer.
Okay.
Give me actually 1 second.
Sure, go for it. Amigo, I forgot your name. I'm sorry. I've seen this. James. Okay, good. I've seen this thing so many times. I forgot your name already. Sorry. I've only spoken to Amy for the most part, though. I think last time, whenever I was on the show, you were like in the background doing some stuff. So maybe that's why I didn't pick up on your name as sharp.
Maybe.
So yeah, I guess I'm gonna try not to let that train of thought take off without me, but I'll keep in mind that I was a Christian. No, here's what I think. As far as my research has brought me to be able to see, I try to look at the maybe the movements of energy behind things, the system of things, like how the system works, how systems themselves work. Mm-hmm. And then I see something like, I'll look at a red blood cell, let's say, and how can a red blood cell possibly come to know the complexities of the existence of a human being? And then beyond that, what, like the earth itself, there's no way it will ever know. There's no way it can really know. And it has a very limited intelligence to understand the type of intelligence that we're operating from. So I look down to there's things much smaller than the red blood cell that live inside the red blood cell. And then from the point of view of the red blood cell, it's probably at the top of the food chain. Now, as we go up that food chain, we can look down to the red blood cell and say, no, we're at the top of the food chain. We're like the greatest beings on Earth. And then there's just empty space out there in the stars. Mm-hmm. But then how could we possibly know that we are not just a red blood cell, and then, you know, the earth is the body of something, and then beyond that there's some much greater system? Because if you look at what would maybe technically define consciousness, it's a self-organizing system. And then you look at the sun, you look at the cosmos and how systems move out there, energy flows through that. If I were to say there's something called God, maybe we're like a little red blood cell somewhere inside of it. But there's no real way for us to know that. The only way, I mean, I'll also say that I view pretty much most religions, especially most major religions and the way they're used today, as control mechanisms for the population.
So now, are you a deist? Do you think that there could be a God, but you don't know, or we're incapable of knowing?
No, I think just based on personal experience and the research that I've done and the direction that's pointed me to, I think that there is a much greater system beyond just human beings. But like I said, there's no way for me to know what it is. But there is something that's intelligent beyond ourselves. But I don't really, I can't quite define it, because I can imagine myself as the red blood cell with all my pride saying, oh yeah, I'm the smartest thing around, and there's nothing beyond me and nothing greater than me.
Well, I don't think I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say there's nothing, because that's an affirmative statement, right? So I can't comprehend the things that I can't comprehend, but I just don't have any information. I don't have anything that leads me to believe that there is anything specifically above the human level of consciousness, I guess you could say. We just don't have any information based
to make that.
So you
trigger me.
opinion on.
As soon as you say consciousness, an Amy appears.
Oh, nice.
And Amy appears,
Well,
yeah.
oh, we didn't say higher consciousness though. We just said regular consciousness.
Well, you said an intelligence beyond
Oh, an
beyond
intelligence beyond myself,
us.
and then
Yeah.
Amy showed up. You're right.
Right.
Amy,
So,
seriously, you've done so many of these shows. You got to have all kinds of stuff rattling around up there. So, anyway, sorry,
she's
Jane.
got everything rattling around. No, I'm just saying. I don't think we're saying we're making an affirmative statement that there's nothing. I just don't think we have any information to say that there is. We're open to receiving evidence and looking at new data. We just haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, which I mean, I know that's like where the term agnostic comes from, and then there's, there's atheist, agnostic, and then there's like devout worshiper of something or other. Fill in the
Agnostic
blank.
atheist.
Yeah, and so we could look at that as just different points on the same spectrum, a spectrum of belief or a spectrum of maybe understanding of the world around you, and then how you apply, how much you can speculate into either the existence of a higher consciousness that controls all things or can see the future or whatever people say God can do.
Like the Force.
But actually, since you brought that up, I'll step on that I'll step into that for a moment, because the best that I'm able to imagine evidence for maybe a higher power is, there's magnetism and electricity and all pressure potentials within like waveforms, and like if you look at the
I
surface
do
of
want
the
to
water.
say a great philosopher once said, "Magnets, how do they work?" Continue.
Yeah, well, that is a good
They are
question.
one of the magnetism is one of the fundamental forces. So is
and if
you mentioned electricity, which is the same phenomenon.
So before we go into
electromagnetism.
the Force, let's go into magnetism for a second.
Go ahead.
Well, the Egyptians have their creation myth does kind of talk about the idea of magnets, and then how like one thing was created with the male energy, the opposite thing was created with the female energy, and then alchemically speaking, one of those things like the fire or the electrical force is applied to males, the female, the magnetic force is applied to females. So there's it has all this like the driving energy, and then the energy that holds that electrical power in place, or it gives it some sort of shape or form by slowing it down rather than just letting it explode. There's also, like in the Christian Bible, if you look, one of the interpretations in the book of Genesis, like whenever it says God created man and woman and he called them Adam, it doesn't say he called the man Adam, it says he called the man and the woman Adam. And then the early root words, I think in the Sumerian and the Babylonian, a lot of the early languages, the root for mother was am or ma, which we still use today, like mom. In Spanish, it's ma or ama or madre.
Like when Darth Dawkins' ma comes in to call him for dinner.
Yeah, and then the father is dad or da or
Abba.
or ad, abba, appa. So if you want to look at it from, okay, what actually does create the world? If we want to just summarize it, we could say electricity and magnetism. Now I know there's like dielectric,
It's like an electric universe type
and,
of thing.
yeah. So if we want to look at like, what if you were speaking to people that were barely beyond cavemen, you would have to give them a very metaphorical story to say, hey, there's this magical force that created everything that exists. One force is a male, one force is a female. They got together, they had a son, which is basically the story like of the Holy Trinity. There's God the Father, the Holy Spirit, or Mother Mary. You could also put in that same spot, and then Jesus. So now let's step back to the Force, since we just touched on that a little. Now the Force, as far as I am able to see, just like if you touch a calm surface of the water, and you can see kind of in a two-dimensional way, like how waves ripple out and intersect with each other and things like that. And then a peak of a wave isn't water moving. It's the water staying still, except for there's a pressure on one side and then a peak that rises in the middle because there's also a pressure in front that hasn't
Energy
given
moving
way
through
to
the
that
water.
energy yet. Yeah, so where there's a high pressure potential, you see the water rise. So if you're sitting in a wave pool, as long as you don't get caught by the scooping part of the wave, if it's just a large wave, it will just rise you up and then you'll drop back down the exact same spot where you were. So the water is really going up and down. It's not really like sloshing forward or backward, except for when you get to the very like the crest of the wave when it's falling onto the beach. But the whole idea is, I'll say that I feel, for just from what I've been able to observe and speculate on, that there are, in that same way, like Nikola Tesla talked about the ether or the vacuum or the empty space. I mean, there's it's difficult to talk about the ether because it's like, okay, something that we're told exists that doesn't actually exist. But then we could just look at it as like negative space, like the vacuum, because
The
that.
ether, I do believe, is disproven.
So
Clearly
well,
shown not to exist.
so then I mean we could just speak in terms of like the vacuum um or something that connects all things, even though it doesn't technically exist, because you can travel through the vacuum to get to something else. So
Well,
it's
do you mind? I want to ask a few questions.
okay.
First, I
She's
want
got
to
a few.
know.
Bear with her.
I can't help it. So, would you describe yourself as a theist, right?
No.
No.
I mean yeah, you could describe me as that if you want, but I don't.
Well, no. I'd rather describe you as an atheist. You want to come on our team?
Sure, let's go for it.
Or, I mean, what are you? So, what are your?
Okay, so I believe, as far as all my experiences have told me, that there is something that creates these negative and positive, or like high and low pressure potentials in the universe somehow. So there have been just, sometimes crazy coincidences that once you see enough coincidences, you stop believing in them. Um, and I know it sounds cliche, but there are some things like that line up so astronomically perfectly. It seems like something, whether it was some unconscious wave in the universe that has pushed your subconscious into being in this specific spot at a certain time, because we don't really understand like subconscious
Can
brain
I
waves to
ask?
the fullest level. I do
Do you
believe that there's a
have?
consciousness beat that's greater than just human consciousness. So maybe that makes me some sort of
Well,
theist.
okay. Well, I would be open to talking about that because I don't think that there is a higher a consciousness, but I would be more interested or just as interested in, do you have a specific experience? You said you had coincidences that were just too coincidental. And so I guess, is there something on your mind that is an example of that?
Well, this is where, here's another place where it's kind of a dead end, because I could tell you that I woke up one morning and, like, I don't know, Jesus transported me to heaven, but there's no way I could ever prove that to anyone. So I will say, just from a logical thinking human perspective, I could give you examples where you could that would, because I've told them to other people that are staunch atheists, like in my family, that are very smart people also, and they say,
You
"Hey, I
tend
don't
to be
know, the world's
smart.
a weird place. You never know how that could have happened or why it could have happened." So I mean, no matter how many interesting stories I give, there's always reasonable doubt, which I in my understanding of things, it doesn't really matter whether you believe in God or consciousness or whatever. The only thing that really does matter
I think
is,
James and I both believe in consciousness.
Yeah, but
To some level, yeah.
let's just say people in general. I mean, when I say you, no
Sure.
matter what people believe, it's not going to affect if they go to heaven or they go to hell, or because if you think about things logically, there's no possible way that the Christian Bible, the Muslim Bible, any Bible that you want to that or any holy book in the world is only and purely a physical recounting of historical events. There's so much metaphor and philosophy and interpretation of things wrapped up in it that if you were to say that just if you want to take any single story from any of the books and say like, oh well, God created the earth in 7 days, and then or 6 days, the seventh day he rested. Now there's kind of a that the ancient Egyptian creation story ties right into that book of Genesis, where God created the earth in 7 days or 6 days, and on the seventh day he rested. And then you can draw out the flower of life, which the Egyptians worshipped, and the book of Genesis is just, if you look at it, it's talking about the flower of life and then all the different energies of
It's almost
existence.
like they were borrowing from the different cultures.
Well, yeah, and if you look at a lot of the early, like the Council of Nicaea, a lot of the tribes were, like the Jewish tribes that were just using their religion as all tribes do, just to hold people together. And I mean, if and they must have been influenced by the early Egyptian religion, the mystery schools, the mystery religion, because there's a religion in all ages, a religion for the people, and then there's a religion for the priests and the higher, the more learned people of society that help make the wheels turn. Now, here's a little example just for fun, just to look at human psychology real quick.
Okay.
I was in California, I don't know, not too long ago, and there was an accident on the freeway. And this isn't a civilized country, we like to think. And people just start going crazy because we're stuck in traffic for like an hour easily, just going in a 1 mile stretch. And people are just driving against the traffic, going in the wrong way, cutting each other off, almost crashing into each other just to get in. And it's just like crazy, like society was breaking down right there on that little side street in California. So you can imagine throughout the ages, whenever you had an empire of hundreds of thousands of people, or even hundreds of people, because the human mind can only realistically and comfortably recognize between 100 and 150 human faces or something like that, people that you can actually know and call by their name, for the most part. So how can you possibly control, as a king or a
I think
priest that's
that's
an advisor to a
Cheers.
king?
You have to go to Cheers.
Where everybody knows your name.
Oh, there you
There
go.
you go.
So the basic idea is you use this system of thought to keep everyone organized, keep everyone from just evolving into chaos and going directly to their primitive monkey brain, killing each other, stealing from each other, and then you establish this system of morality, or this system of thought patterns for a very primitive people. Now, if you look at the people today that are, worshiping the Christian religion, the Muslim religion, and the Jewish religion, any religion you want to put in there, um, they're they're at the very top. If you go and ask a lot of these, like the rabbis or the high Christian priests or people in the Catholic Church, I've seen some interesting interviews with some of them before that they say, yeah, but of course it's just a story. It's just a story, but what the story is hiding, or if you have the keys to unlock what the story means, you can see the meaning behind the story. Like it talks about actual human psychological manipulation, or how to control large masses of people, and also different energies that work in the world, like the creative energy, or the destructive energy. I mean, they're both equally important. The electricity, the magnetism. So, anyways, there's all these different religions. They have like a religion for the people, and they have a religion for the priests, the higher priests. And the one that they teach to the average working man, he, like, just take a regular truck driver. he doesn't need to know much more than driving a truck, hanging out with his family, how to treat his kids well, his wife well. So you give him that religion of the masses, and he usually does pretty well for himself. I mean, people they're still pretty rough around the edges for the most part, unless you're highly disciplined and trained, and you figure out who you are, and you're able to discipline yourself to a certain degree. Which in Freemasonry is a whole thing with the polished stone or the rough stone. And so as you advance, like in the degrees of Freemasonry, they say you become more and more polished, and you get closer to being a diamond or a polished stone, which is very valuable. And you start out basically as a lump of coal. In alchemy, it was turning lead into gold, which just a base metal, just being a base human, you eventually turn into the most precious metal that they had. So, it's all just metaphorical stuff.
Well, and so, I mean, we like the metaphorical theists right off the bat more than the fundamentalist or metaphorical, whatever we want to call it, the spiritual and not religious. Because they're not generally trying to be anti-science.
They're not
or
dogmatic.
Yes. Where I would ask, and I don't know really what side, if there is sides, but well, there either there was prophets or there wasn't. So I would like to I do want to ask later on in two religions and things like that, but I want to know, do you think that prophets exist, or is it all metaphor?
Well, yeah, like look at Pythagoras. I mean, it just depends on how you want to define a prophet. Like look at Leonardo da Vinci. He was a master of.
Wait. How do you define a prophet?
Well, I could. Let's just go with both basic definitions. The average definition of there's the invisible 50-foot sky wizard with a beard and a pimp cane only spoke to this one person and said, "Hey, go tell all these people that I said this." There you go. You got the pimp cane. so that
She has multiple.
Yeah. So God tells this one person, "Hey, go tell all these other people I said this." Now we can look at that and say, okay, what if this one person had such a beautiful mind and was able to interpret those high and low pressure potential areas of existence and thought patterns and whatever, that they were able to tune into this angelic voice in the sky, and they were able to bring down that knowledge to the people. And then we can also look at the other definition of prophet.
Okay.
That we could look at the other definition of prophet and say, okay, what about a person that understands human nature so very well that they know how to control hundreds of thousands of people and stop them from murdering each other, stealing from each other, raping, turning on each other, or taking wives that are 10 or 11 years old, like you guys were talking about earlier. Because generally that's a negative thing. Now,
but I think, I have a word for that.
Okay.
It's not a bad word. Leader.
Okay. Well, we could say let's just get that one out of the way. Actually, let's get the first one out of the way real quick. The Sky Wizard version. So let's say that there's someone with such a higher mind that God only speaks to that person because they're the only one that can understand that person. Now, if you look in the Bible, like let's say Moses went up to the mountain with he went up to the mountain on top of the mountain, and
with 15, but 2 fell, 1 fell.
Yeah. So he went up to the mountain, and God gave him 2 tablets or 2 stones. Let's just say 2 stones.
An iPad and a Samsung. You like the Samsung thing.
Yeah. So he gave him 2 stones. And he came down from this high holy mountain. And a mountain, of course, is a metaphor for the high places of the mind, or the high places of human existence. You could also associate it with like a higher birthright. So people that were just a little bit further away from monkeys, or maybe much further away from monkeys through thousands of years of culture and proper breeding or whatever. you could also make that association, because a lot of people do, especially in the mystery religions, will say, like Hitler did. He said that there were some people that were better than other people, and which
He was an idiot in that regard.
what's that?
Said he was an idiot in that regard.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a very interesting story to get into. If also maybe in another show,
let's not get into
that would take up 3 shows, because
that would be too much dog whistling for
Yeah.
our likes.
We have a certain amount of Godwin's law before the TOS gods come back down.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, if you look at him, it's like, okay, well, didn't he have a certain amount of Jewish heritage? And so there's some,
Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Yeah. So you're right. There is a lot of speculation in that area. But anyways, we'll
But
get.
I'll pull you back.
Yeah.
Prophethood. Prophecy.
She sends that book out there like off stage.
When Moses came down from the mountain with his 2 stones, according to what I've researched,
tablets call me in the morning.
Yeah, according to what I've heard in some of my research, stones in the early Hebrew translation, or maybe even the early Greek translation, I forget which one it is, stones could also be translated to testicles, which is, today we say, do you have the stones for it? It's so they could be very similar.
So
they could
Moses
be used.
could have came down with the ball staff.
So no, he could have came down from this high place of human existence, because he was one of these great leaders that could hear the voice of God. He had basically a higher understanding of what humans could become, rather than just living in tents on the side of the mountain, and in these
silly tabernacle.
Yeah. So he had a vision of greatness for the human race type of thinking. So if he came down from this high place, it could also have been that, okay, he was supposedly related to the royals, or to the pharaohs, or to he had some.
Will never be royals.
Yeah, he had some like royal
How
bloodline.
happy Gizmo is! I'm sorry.
So when he came down from the mountain, he brought his 2 tablets with the laws of how humans were supposed to live. Now, there's a bunch of stuff tied up in here. We could say, just to throw out a couple of ideas, his 2 stones, he was maintaining the covenant.
That could be true, Mark.
He was maintaining the covenant of God. And the covenant, if you look at like what a covenant is, or like the Ark of the Covenant, it can be also interpreted as like keeping a certain bloodline alive, like a royal bloodline. Now,
next to the mercy seat.
Yeah. Also, when he came down from the mountain, it could also be interpreted as the start of a new age, just like we have like the start of, like, right now we're moving into the age of Aquarius, and in the Bible, Jesus said that Jesus, who is the symbol of 2 fish, Pisces, said, "I will be with you until the end of the age," or I think it's actually translated in the King James, till the end of the to the end of the world. But I mean,
are we actually moving into a different part of the universe?
Well, we're moving into a different angle that's facing the sky in a certain way. And so these primitive people that look to the sky as the unmovable clock of existence, because everything on Earth is transitory, everything in the sky, there were only the 7 heavenly travelers, or the 7 travelers that were the planets that they could
probably
see.
Right, Mark.
So, sorry, I can't see what Mark's saying. Maybe I should skip.
He said he thinks you've been watching Zeitgeist, the documentary.
I know.
Are you familiar with it?
I know I've seen one of their things a long time ago, but this is actually I can give you a couple of researchers that there
were a lot of inaccuracies.
There
were a lot of logical stretches.
Yeah.
In the original Zeitgeist.
Can I ask something in a different manner?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can give your sources.
Yeah, and we're gonna go for about another 10 minutes, Luxor, and then we're gonna either hold up for one more call or actually start to wrap up.
Yeah, documentary, Mark. It's
this is a weird experience for me, being in here with not a bunch of other people and Simos hanging out. And,
Woo,
this is a different kind of show.
Exactly. This is our call-in show.
Sometimes when it gets a little packed on the panel, it's hard to get a word in. So we'd like to have these show where we can just interact with people just us.
Mm-hmm.
and
But we do
get
love
the people
our
who have an opposing view to also, or whatever type of view to actually be able to speak. But I had a question for you, and then I want to go back to something you said earlier. But what does the word skeptic, skepticism, what do these words mean to you?
Well, I think that the basic meaning of the word should be someone who tries to dig in to find flaws in a theory in order to find the truth of things. Now, there are a lot of skeptics that use it to promote an agenda. They'll jump on something and try to basically like if you watch the news, CNN, Fox News, that's what they do. They'll jump in, they'll cut you off, they'll try to reroute the conversation, they'll throw in a bunch of facts that don't matter considering another topic, and then they'll move to that topic, and you never actually get to the bottom of anything. So there's all of these questions still left floating around out there, and by the time you're done, it's all messed up.
Excuse me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's like that. So there's usually more questions floating in the air than what you started with whenever you have that type of conversation. But as a good skeptic, I've gotten quite a bit of enjoyment out of watching the James Randi stuff because all the stuff that he's put on
skepticism
on TV.
done right.
Absolutely.
He was a big loss to the atheist community.
Yeah. So people like that. There's I think he did a really good job because he kept the of course he was an atheist, but he kept the idea that, well, if there is magic, show me. If there is a God, show me. I'll listen.
Right. We have to be open to looking at new data and looking at evidence.
So when I think about it, I think, how could one red blood cell demanding of the other red blood cell say, prove to me that the human exists? That it would be quite difficult, so or prove to me that the earth exists, because they can't even really see the earth, but it's something that exists in a chain that continues far beyond them.
Blood cells can't think, though. They don't have the apparatus for consciousness. I think your example might be better if you stuck with maybe ants,
if they were conscious, they would, because I don't think they are conscious, but if it was, it would raise the possibility that they actually could figure out.
Well, we could say a microscopic intestinal worm, if that if that would be a better example, because they must have some sort of at least physical consciousness.
And I also want to ask you another question. I think you might. I want to see if something interesting pops out. You talked about two religions.
Something interesting pops up?
Yes. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
You mean as far as the two types of prophets?
Well, you said there were two types of religions. In fact, if I could take a guess and tell me where I go wrong, it sounds like you're saying there's a religion for the normies and a religion for the elites.
Those, yes. Yeah, they're
like your Masonic example.
Like I was saying, with the two different types of religions, let's take the example of an auto mechanic. Not everyone can be an auto mechanic plus everything else, or plus their normal job. So whenever you look into the higher philosophies of the priests and things like that, these are people that spend the majority of their adult lives philosophizing and thinking. Or I won't say all of them, because some of them they stick strictly to a I don't want to say Luciferian agenda, but something that's akin to just maintaining control over the physical world. And they don't really have much concern for spiritual things or higher philosophy. But there are a lot of the people in these higher positions that do have, I'll say, they specialize in philosophy and trying to build on their religion. Now, a lot of them are just apologists too, and they'll die on that cross, even if they're wrong, doesn't matter. And then some of them, which
Some of them literally.
yeah,
I'm just kidding, Christians.
so I mean, there's the dying on the cross thing. That's a whole big metaphor in itself, which I don't know if we have time for, because we probably only have another 5 minutes, I think is what you're saying. But
Yeah, we are about to
give or
wrap
take.
up. But
yeah,
but if you want to say something on it,
okay.
now's the chance.
Well, I'll wrap up my quick Pythagoras example, because I left that open ended. The other type of prophet is someone that understands I would say is someone that understands things, human psychology, the natural law, energies of the physical world, and the psychological world, emotional world, however those tie in together, to a very high degree. And they can look at your average person and say, let's say the the guy that's the staunch believer that says he's studied the Bible 18 hours a day, and that's been on here a couple episodes. The preacher, there you go. You won't change his mind without some amazing amount of convincing, because he has indoctrinated himself over years and many hours into that one specific type of belief. So whether some of the things he says are right or some of the things he says are wrong, there's no way he's going to know, because his only understanding of the world is I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. And he there's no space for anything else in his mind. Not a possibility of, oh, you know what, maybe I could recalculate that, because the original translation of that word actually means this, and I didn't know that before. So
very hard to get through to people like that.
Yeah.
Very hard.
So if you were one of these higher priests, you would know exactly how to speak to someone like that, because you know his language. Now, someone like Pythagoras could easily be one of those priests, or like Leonardo da Vinci. He was a master of so many different art forms and different. His mind was just amazing. If you look at some of the different things he knew how to do, like with his drawing, his sculpting, his inventing,
he was a visionary,
yeah. So and he wasn't just a dabbler. He actually went into these arts, and he advanced them to higher levels than what they were before. Which most people, they'll just take one thing and they'll specialize in it. So
what it sounds like is you do have some sort of secular interpretation of just someone who moves our culture forward.
I would say so. Someone who maintains some sort of guidance over the minds of men, so that they don't devolve into chaos, like the California
Elon
traffic
Musk,
example.
Would you think he's a prophet, a modern day prophet?
No, I think he's good with technology, but I don't see how he understands the human mind to some advanced degree that he would be able to lead millions of people into a new religion.
In
or
fairness,
whatever it might be.
I don't see. Well, I mean, the old prophets, the one from the don't exist, but I don't see how Jesus or Muhammad really understands the human condition any better than, I don't know, any
Elon
psychologist actually in this day and age. But sure, Elon Musk
how about the drunk guy sleeping under the bridge? Would he have more understanding than him? Probably not.
Listen, there's gonna be, if you can look through their tombs, at least, especially the Bible, you're gonna find nuggets of wisdom. It's just, it tends to be as good as any other, if not, doesn't stand the test of time any better than.
You take the good and you leave the bad. There's some good in there, but there's a lot of bad.
But I will want to say, I want Luxor, I do want you, I thank you so very much. I want to give you at least a sentence or two to wrap up your thoughts.
Okay.
We have been calling me skeptical, and we wanted to know, do prophets exist?
Okay, do you want me to, you asked a few minutes ago before I kind of went off on finished the prophet thing up. Did you want me to talk a little bit about the symbolism of being crucified on the cross and things like that, or do you want to save that for another time?
Well, it's It's up to you. I guarantee you we will talk about crucifixion, Jesus, and all that. So if you think that it's actually relevant, though, I'm all for it. I just want to know what is on your
Give you
mind.
a
We
few
have
minutes,
been
yeah.
talking because, or at least a few sentences for last
Okay.
statement, because we do. I'm unless it is a secular version. So, like, the first half, which I think you almost brought it up so that you could knock it down, which I enjoy. Please knock that version down. Uh,
Mhm.
I very much dislike any literal version of a god being able to speak to a being. And so, I used to have people really pat comedians on the back and say they're prophets, they're philosophers, they're blah 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 blah, which I appreciate. I get that, but I wouldn't take it as far as to say that they are able to tell the future. And so I want to just hand it back over. You whatever you'd like to say, but we have been calling us skeptical on do prophets exist.
Okay. I guess I'll skip the. I mean, you guys could have me here all night if you want. I don't have anywhere to go, but
Oh
I know you
my!
guys have a schedule to
Unfortunately,
meet.
yeah.
So I guess I'll just save the symbolism of that for another time. Um,
Exactly. We're gonna try and do either a call-in show, a debate, something exciting every week, along with our regular open mics and our Bible studies and everything that we're gonna keep on throwing in there.
okay. Well, I'll just say that I think that this, just like this question has been occupying the minds of men and women for many thousands of maybe millions of years. I don't think we're going to really crack the code because it's something that's in its essence unknowable.
Sorry.
It's something that's unknowable, and it just does us good to talk about it for ourselves. Like me being on here helps keep my mind going over these things and keeping them sharp, help me uh, put my ideas together that I haven't gone over in a while. Um, and then for you guys, you have an equally important part in the world of saying, okay, prove it to me. So someone like me can get on and be like, okay, is there really a sky wizard out there? Or is there a giant Buddha with a fat belly floating out in space? Or is there like whatever God I want to believe in? Um,
Celestial pizza.
yeah. Or is there like, am I just a little uh, semi-conscious red blood cell compared to this almighty, who knows, neural network of gaseous something floating through the stars that links up the planets in some way, and that's like his muscle fibers, and who knows? I mean,
Like Ed
so
Hovind says, maybe we're just sitting on God's snow globe on God's dresser, and he just comes in, and that's the whole universe. He just shakes it up every once in a while.
yeah, but I mean, those are they're fun things to have out there and keep in mind. But also, it's important to try to have things that work and things that are practical for your mind, and look out and say, like the preacher. I have heard him say that whenever I was on one of the shows back in the day, he said that because he's infallible, because God is on his side, he can do any physical act that would be considered a sin for someone else,
Oh,
Because
but
he
for him
thinks
it's not considered a sin.
he thinks
So
everything is okay. That's
yeah,
his whole big shtick
so I
that
I
he
think
can't sin.
I think more that we should use this, whether we use our atheism or our Christianity or our Hindi or our Jewish religion or whatever. We have to use it in a practical way that will point us towards something greater. So the whole human race can eventually move in a direction that's non-destructive and chaotic, and will slowly become something much greater than what we are now by a thought process that looks something like this. One side of the brain saying, maybe there's something out there that's a higher consciousness, and the other side saying, nah, you got to prove it to us first. And then by that thought process, we keep trying to prove something greater to ourselves, and eventually, if there's nothing out there, we ourselves become it. Because who knows? Maybe a few million years from now, we'll be like these amazing beings that can teleport from point in space and time just by the power of our minds, and we'll be like gods to something else. You never know.
Maybe.
So if it doesn't exist, the logical next step is that we ourselves become it to fill that void.
I would love to have conversations with you
That
about
sounds like a
consciousness
good one.
and a lot of other subjects to come forward. But Luxor, thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Luxor.
joining and, in fact, calling us skeptical.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. I just like hanging out and talking sometimes. So
Woo-hoo.
You're always
Keep on
welcome. It was
doing
good
it.
to talk to you.
Exactly. Come join
Yep.
us for more of our call-in shows and more of our open mics.
all right.
And all right, send in love, and we are about to go wrap up. We'll do the rest
About to
of the
wrap it up.
Patreon and sending love.
Give our final remarks.
Woohoo! Sending love back, Luxor. Sending love to our two of our fantastic panel tonight. I see. What's his name? Still in chat.
John Vance was in
John. Yes,
Yeah.
sending love, John. Sending
Sending
love also. I see so much of our chat. I also want to give love. I have notes. I can't help it. You can see the gears turning in my brain because of the preacher. I just love the whole no sinning concept, because the no sinning no more and thus I could go sin, that is like a diabetic, like being like, I found it, guys, I figured it out.
I got it.
I know how to no longer have diabetes. You see, I just need to say on every label, I just need to write not sugar. And I'm just going to write not sugar on every label. And then it'll go. It'll be fine. The legs will probably grow back. And
not sugar.
Again,
there you go.
It
Sugar-free.
only works because, once again, I don't believe sinning is real. So the preacher doesn't sin because sinning isn't real. However, if he steals from someone, he's a dick.
He does something that's...
Yes, if he does something bad. Now, preacher, if you're a good human being, I love you. I'm sending love out there. Who knows? You probably are a good person. I'm just saying, this whole no sugar by eating all the sugar is a very weird
You just tell
approach.
tell yourself, sugar-free.
Sugar-free, exactly. Just take a Sharpie. Just go like this and write
65 grams of sugar. Yeah, no,
then,
not sugar. 0 grams.
You're golden. But yeah. I also saw some funny comments in chat. I'll send them up. We're about to send.
Thanks, Robert. It is indeed a sin not to be a subscriber to our channel.
Woo! It's right.
Amy will give you lots of penance.
Sending all the love to all of our subscribers. I cannot believe we got past 1,000. The trek now
well on the way to
is
1,100.
Exactly. Well, the trek now is to get to 10,000. So 10,000, you actually get your
merch store, right?
Your merch store. You actually can have a merch store whenever, but to have a merch store and actually
integrated with the channel.
Integrated and underneath and all that shiny schnaz, you need that. But we'll get there. I love the skeptic and ranting community. I'm going to keep on sending it out there. But yeah, I will find what's that? I find it funny just Satan that we get allied with sometimes just because we atheists do often see him as the nicer character. He has the lower kill count. That being said, I don't believe that he was real either.
I think Beamsy's talking about the preacher here.
What's
About
that?
his
The
Beamsy's
wheel is
comment here
turning, but the hamster is dead. All
about the
right.
preacher's intellectual prowess.
And look, you know,
It is pretty dangerous, Mark.
a preacher, like him and others, they're charismatic and that they're friendly. He seems like
Very
a nice
sure of
guy.
himself.
Very
confident.
confident in your beliefs. You know, if I asked him how sure he is, I'm sure he'd give me the 100%
20 trillion
number,
percent.
which is, as we keep on saying, we are merchants of doubt. It's always worrisome to me whenever people believe in that stuff, unless
You
it's
know what?
something.
I think I think
DNA
when
test.
they say
I
that,
don't even.
I think they're lying. I don't think they're as sure as they.
No,
like to pretend.
I agree. No, I agree, and that
I
may
don't
be
really think they're that sure.
overcompensating.
Yeah.
I'm 100%
Now, if somebody
sure.
says they're 90% or 95, I can believe that. But say you're 100% sure.
Because it is. The numbers game isn't even that important. It's, do you or are you open to the fact that you could be wrong or not? Because that's what you are allowing yourself in that 1%, the 0.1%, the 10%.
Would you be even willing to look at evidence to the contrary? Would you even be willing to look at the arguments for the other side?
Because if not, then why are you even having a conversation? I mean, it's to
I
convince other people. In fact, what the irony is, they would not be talking to people who were 100% certain, or if they thought that they couldn't convince them to be less certain in whatever they were and believe in what they wanted to believe.
It's like, I wouldn't even put, like, if you ask me how sure am I that the world is round, I'd say functionally it's like 100% because I know, but if I had to, it'd probably be like 99.99999%. I mean, it's virtually a certainty, but I guess you have to leave open that possibility to at least be willing to examine other information.
Well, the joke,
as silly as it may be, as silly as it may sound,
the joke is always just present us a model. Bring us something that we can actually look at. I am rearranging everything. We're sending love to the lead hyena of the pack. We got a lion up there. We're sending love to the hyena. We're sending love. Sending love to Leo. I think
he's got a debate, I think, tomorrow with T-Jump. That is on Marxism versus capitalism.
I'm not touching that. Even though I know what's his John was talking about that. But no, most of us, I think many atheists believe in a market economy and social programs. And there's my 10-foot pole. Let's go on to sending love to Scott Duke, because many theists and creationists look down on other animals. Other animals, because we are animals. Oh, why don't you act like an animal?
We do.
We are. That's what I just told you. Act like a decent animal. That's all you gotta do. Sending love to Scott Duke, who is an amazing animal. And sending love to Rejos, who reminds us that we have. Oh, here's.
Randolph just got to the party. You're a little late, Randolph.
We're sending love to Randolph. Sending so much love. Because we are reminding everyone that we have a skeptic Bible study. We do a fantastic Bible study where we actually read word for word the Bible.
Mostly.
And exactly, we might add a little bit of water and spice to the pie, because it tends to come dry, and so you got to add something
Can
to
be.
really. But sending love, Reid Jones, and
And not put
sending.
everybody to sleep.
That's right. Also sending love to Rachel Holland.
Rachel.
The lovely, fantastic, and amazing. Reminding us, the Bible, these Abrahamic religions, they would never take non-consensual slaves from the nations around. Soros is telling me that's what they did for many years. In fact, they used the justification of the Bible.
They say it's okay because God said so.
Exactly. There you go. Once you have God on your side, all is good. I mean, in fact, it's like if you listen to divine command theory, it is by definition, which is such a. I mean, I say tautology. I mean, it is. And yet they seem to roll that off. Like, of course it's a tautology. God said it, therefore it's good. Why is it good?
God said it.
God said it. Oh, wow. Did you work that
Because
one
if
in
it
the workshop?
because if it was bad, he wouldn't have said it, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Oh, and that's whenever you bring up a moral dilemma that they know, it's just that, well, God wouldn't have given that to begin with. God would never say that. It's just like God would never kill the son, except for later on when he kills his actual
Strange
son.
fire.
Well, that. No, what's it called? Isaac? We right away tries to get a sacrifice of his son, but he pulls away at the last second.
He's like,
okay.
Psych, you don't have to kill your son. I was just testing you. It was a test. We do these. I do these things.
I
yeah.
know you are gonna kill your son. Like, dude, you're messed up.
You're hardcore.
Oh, yeah,
you are balls to the wall for me,
dude.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
I'm not gonna tell your wife about that, but sending love, and also sending love to Senator Arcano, who reminds us that, well, the separation of church and state isn't just important for us, it should be important for you, because chances are when whatever fringe theocracy gains control, it's not going to be yours. So just have your government be secular. Yeah, just have it be secular. Just have it be neutral. Don't have it. That doesn't mean atheistic.
Not secular Quranism.
That means
not
atheist. No, it means neutral. It means believer or non-believer get to do whatever they want. And last but not least, sending love to James Wolfe. Woo! Reminding us that, yes, we midnight rant a little bit. We tend to run the night shift of the skeptic and ranting community, which we'll have an open mic if anyone would like to. I think James and I are going to bed, but we open the floodgates open for the open mic each episode, and oftentimes we go there. Normally I would be there because this is my weeks of my days off, but I have something tomorrow. But it's sending love to James Wolfe, sending love to all of our channel members and Patreons, you guys who enable us to make all of this fun content, along with the people in chat, our mods, and of course, viewers like you. Mwah! And
don't forget, Ivan the
James.
In 2 days, Saturday night, Standing for Truth. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern time. I gotta double check that. But versus the one and only Nephilim Free on human dinosaur coexistence. It's a really silly notion that they have. yeah, really, really silly. And I think I'm going to do my best to put that to bed. And thank you so much, Ian, for the super sticker. 5 more Aussie bucks.
Oh my goodness. $5 more from Ian
9 p.m.
Davenport. Doom, 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 sending love. And it's true. Now I have to look. It's going a super sticker of keep it up. Doom, 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 doom.
Thanks so much, Ian.
Not only do I want to keep it up, but I just want to point out that I tend to ask a lot of questions. I just want to point that out. Sometimes, every once in a while.
An axolotl. I used to sell those when I used to. They are cool, like little amphibians.
They look like real life Pokemon.
Yeah, I used to manage a pet shop, and somebody came in and asked me to order one. I'm like, what the fuck is an axolotl? I looked it up. I'm like, oh, it is. You can order one. Okay. It's a pretty cool little amphibian. They live. It's a good fish tank animal.
Exactly. Like I said, you could order real life Pokemon. Thank you so much. Sorry. Woo! Sending so much love. In fact, I hope that you all had an awesome time on tonight's Call Me Skeptical. Do Prophets Exist? Where tonight we opened up the internet phone lines to see if anyone could help us understand if anyone had spoken one-on-one with a deity. However, I do want to thank my co-host, James W., along with our guests, John and Luxor, along
Thanks,
with
guys.
the people in chat, our awesome mods who make the stream so great. And of course, lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Woohoo! Or hey, channel membership just hit. We got all of those fun
Join the sunflowers here.
and badges, which it doesn't matter which tier.
You don't
They'll
need those
evolve
stinking badges.
as long as you just keep on being part. And so thank you all to that. And I also want to you get reminders with the bell icon to join our live streams, see our
Thanks, Mark.
premieres.
Flash the emoji.
Just premiered EF Dawa talk last night.
Amy, putting them Dawa boys to task, putting them in the hot seat. You did a good job on that.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah, you did very well.
That's right. They can change sex too.
Axolotls, they're transgender by design.
And also,
can they transform into an attack helicopter? Though that's the question.
I know they only have one joke. That's their only. That is basically their only one. After that, they'll put up.
Can I identify as an attack helicopter?
Baby, you can do whatever you want as long as you admit that there is no God. We call it even. We'll call it even.
You go be the best helicopter you can be. You spin your blades and you do you. You be a badass helicopter.
Or just ask them what gender their god is. And then they're like, well, I mean, in my latest gender studies class, it actually says that my god doesn't have to have a gender. And
what about Jesus? Well, Jesus was obviously male when he walked on the earth, but did he have
a male chromosome? I also
did he have a
love that
penis?
Jesus just poofed. I was just thinking about his miracle this morning out of randomness. I know that the Christians think that we always pick on them, even though we upload things against Islam, against Judaism, against everything.
Thanks,
It doesn't
Skywatcher.
matter. Oh, thank you so much, Sent in Love, Skywatcher. Everyone just rages against. It's like in comedy, you don't feel upset until it's jokes about you, and then you feel like, oh, why do they always pick on me? It's not. It's just something that you do finally gets, called out. But we love all of our theist brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that's kind of like when Amy asked standing for
It's a
truth.
hard question.
It kind of reminds me of when Amy asked SFT why men have nipples, and he actually had to say, "Well, I don't have a good answer for that." At least he was being honest. At least he was being honest.
Indeed, he was.
He does not have a good explanation for why God would design.
Because creationists do not have answers. But he gave an I don't know, and an I don't know is like the skeptic's mantra when you don't know something. Because when you do know something,
that's the appropriate
you should.
answer.
Yeah, don't go super like, how can we even know anything? Okay, cool. We get it. You just got into Philosophy 101. You'll get out of the class and have a deeper understanding and answer, but no. Sending love also to Ian, Mark, Randolph, James, Skywatcher, Luxor, Ian, Robert, Beamsy, Movind,
And
Aaron, Randolph, everybody out there, Woody. We hope you all enjoyed it.
Megan.
We're gonna keep on. That list is done. I'll post it in Discord, so we can get people to sign up for it. Because we want more debates. We want more debate, me bros.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you so very much, Megan. Thank you, all of the Skeptic and Ranting community. We are sending love. Go check out James's debate. I think I'm going to hit up Standing myself and a few other apologetic
We need Amy
channels.
to get on there.
Yeah.
Take on Nephilim 3 again. Well, he's probably a little sore from that last beatdown you gave him, but
oh my.
He actually came on the panel for like 5 minutes before he rage
he got
quit.
triggered. He rage quit.
Yeah.
He rage quit. That's what happens when you give people too much time. Or certain theists, because some come on and talk to us, but we can't help it. Sometimes we give too much rope.
But Amy, out of the tens of thousands of different cave art pictures, I found 3 that kind of look like dinosaurs. Doesn't that mean man lived with dinosaurs and everything else we know about the natural world is wrong?
James, I don't know if you know this, but because of that, it means the Flintstones was an actual documentary.
I mean, we'll probably be reading the Gospel of Fred. Why did his book get left out of the Bible? It was a conspiracy.
It is. It's a massive conspiracy. Alex Jones needs to get to the end of this, though we are at the end of this, because I do hope you had an awesome time of this Call Me Skeptical.
That's
Do
right,
prophets exist? There is going to be, like I said, a after show at the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more content, we do offer some perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Ding! I'm sending love to Peter and gonna go for it out there. And all of our atheists and theist brothers and sisters, good night. And
just go ahead and get rid of that
skeptical.
spam account in the chat.
Stay skeptical, y'all. Good night. Mwah!